to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you cannot tell, I am a little bit under the weather. I'm actually homesick today, but I can only sit and do nothing for so long before I start to go a little stir crazy. So I decided, since I'm like 4 videos behind on filming, I may as well just pretend I feel amazing and go ahead and shoot this video. Today I am going to be reviewing the book Bulletproof Mascara by Bethany Maines. So today's video is going to be a little interesting because it is the first video that I will be filming where I do not like and feel like I cannot recommend the specific book that I am talking about. Like, I don't want to be a channel that just like talks crap about books all the time, because I know there's a lot of people who really like negative reviews. They like to hear people rant and bash, and like I myself like to watch those videos on occasion, but I'm not a negative person and they tend to like most things that I read. So when I actually dislike something, it tends to be for other reasons. For me, books I don't like tend to fall into 2 categories. So the first one is just bad writing. So literally they don't make sense, or there's just some plot holes, plot problems, character problems. There's something that from like a technical standpoint I don't like, or for whatever reason I just don't click with the book. The second one is more significant and is more often the reason why I tend not to like books, and that one is that there is something actually problematic in the text. So this book unfortunately has a little bit of both, so I'm going to try and tackle it in those 2 categories. The reason I don't recommend the book falls more into the second category, of course, because there are some problematic aspects of it that would prevent me from ever recommending that anyone read it. The other thing that made me kind of not sure where to go with this particular review was I didn't know if I don't like the book, do I still try to do my makeup well? And I was just like, yeah, because I have to wear the makeup, so I still want to look good. That's the shallow reason. And I still want to be creative and have fun with it. So for me, trying to create a pretty good and inspired makeup look, even out of a book I don't like, just seems like a fun challenge. I was really hopeful with this book. I got it on audiobook, and I really like cozy spy novels. I love just that genre where it's just a lot of fun. You have some cool gadgets, you have just a fun adventure, you have some camaraderie usually with some type of like partnership or group or whatever of spies that are, they're just trying to get their mission done. And to me, that whole type of novel is just a lot of fun. I was just at the library, I just had a few seconds, so I was trying to just grab something really quick. It wasn't necessarily even the cover that caught my eye. I just saw the title, Bulletproof Mascara, and I was like, oh, seems like it could be interesting theoretically. Just real quick, because I'm not feeling well and I have some breakouts and stuff, I'm going to be mixing these clarifying drops in with my tinted moisturizer. Anyway, so I just kind of grabbed it, and I thought it looked like it could theoretically be interesting. Ooh, that doesn't look so good with the brush application. Okay, well, we're just gonna go with it. I was unfortunate to have just very, very barely skimmed the back of the book jacket, which was my own darn fault. So it wasn't necessarily a case of judging the book by its cover, it was judging the book by its general genre and title. So I started listening to it, and even at the beginning I was a little skeptical about how I was going to feel about the book. Real quick, we are going to do a super fast summary of this book. So basically the book follows a semi-recent college graduate named Nikki Lanier. Dang, this looks terrible. I told you guys I was going to try and make this look good, and here I am with, oh my gosh. We're starting over. Okay, so basically the book follows semi-recent college graduate Nikki Lanier. She graduated in linguistics and is having trouble finding a job and a man, much to her nagging mother's dismay. The book starts off with a prologue in Canada after a terrible interview, and a guy at the bar proposes to her. Turns out the guy is is this lawyer called Jim, whose actual name is Zev. And, oh, by the way, I'm reapplying my skincare since I just wiped everything off. This guy, Jim, proposes to her and is like, hey, I need a fake wife because my boss thinks that I'm married and the actual girl that was supposed to pretend to be my wife got stuck in traffic. Can you pretend to be my wife? For whatever reason, she goes along with it, yada, yada, yada. And then, like, her mother later drags her along to this, not Mary Kay, but Carrie May presentation, and she wins a free starter kit and has a disastrous sales attempt. She's bailed out of jail by Mrs. Merrivale, who's kind of in charge of the West Coast branch of Carrie May Foundation, and offers her a job. And then Nikki finds out that this is like a super secret spy organization, like all of Carrie May Foundation, not the actual like MLM part of it, but the rest of it is all just a front for a super secret spy organization that is supposed to empower and Nikki and Val are whisked away to Thailand on her first mission, where their goal is to help a human rights activist named Lewin who has gone missing. The mission very quickly goes awry. Nikki discovers that things are not all as they seem over in Thailand. There's betrayal, supposed intrigue, and you know, of course, there's a happy ending, and shocker, Nikki gets the guy who turns out to be important. I sound so disenfranchised. I promise it's mostly just because I'm sick. But I also didn't like the book, so, you know, there's that. So I'm going to start off with what I did like about the book, because there's not a lot of it, and this will be the shortest part of the review. I kind of like the premise. So, I mean, you know, super secret women's spy organization, that's a cool premise. You know, what I was hoping for was like Black Widow levels of awesomeness wrapped in a cozy little story that you can like finish in an afternoon, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's all well and good. Unfortunately, the book kind of tried to take itself seriously, which made it worse. But like I said, I did like the premise. That's why I picked it up from the library. So points for that. I did enjoy a couple little moments, and I found that I ended up liking some of the side characters more than I liked any of the main characters. So particularly for the case agent, who's just the analyst and just trying to be helpful throughout the course of the story. Her name is Jane. I actually did kind of like her because she's just cheerful, chipper, and helpful, and even at one point she's just trying to like, she tries to help Nikki even when it could get her in trouble, and I was just like, okay, this is a cool little character. Like, it's more. By the way, this is the palette I'm using. That looks like a book, so fits perfectly on my channel, right? She just seemed, like, while not fully well-rounded, she just seemed like an interesting concept for a character that, you know, she was just different. I was into it. Anyway, so I thought Jane was pretty fun. There was a couple moments that I actually did enjoy that made me kind of laugh, so that's a plus. So there's this moment where, Nikki is hiding in the closet from the bad guys, you know, as one does, and they bring in like this person who's like an informant, and they're like interrogating him, and then they like knock him out, and the main bad guy's caution is like, take care of him, and the like minion goes like, take care of him, and he's like, yo, no, duh. Like, take care of him. What do you think I meant? Main bad guy kind of huffs out angrily, and the bad guy's like, I just wanted some clarification. Like, and then he's like just generally grumbling to his coworker about how the boss is always in a bad mood, and just general worker nonsense that, you know, you grumble about your boss. And it was just such a human, relatable moment. I was just like, it actually made me laugh out loud. It was, well, like, that one specific moment was well done, and I was just like, oh, I actually laughed. I don't think I've laughed this whole book practically. And so I was just happy about that. That was pretty much it as far as what I enjoyed. I mean, I always enjoy seeing what like writers come up with as far as hidden gadgets. There wasn't like a lot that was super unique. I did enjoy that. The scientist gal, Rachel, she was kind of fun. She was just kind of nerdy, but like but in a fun way. She was cute. I thought she was a fun little character, but the way Nikki kind of viewed her was just as annoying. Like, her enthusiasm about her science and what she created was annoying, and that kind of ticked me off. You know what? She's creating all the stuff that's protecting and helping you. Give the girl some darn respect. Like, I liked her as a character. Apparently Nikki's just a jerkwad. That was one of my main literary problems. I did not like the main character. I did not connect with Nikki at all. I think the author was trying to make her relatable, and in trying to make her relatable to everyone, made her relatable to like no one, because she would talk about like how she was a cheerleader in high school and she was like kind of popular, but at the same time she wasn't popular because she was like good at math, and oh, maybe I should have just flunked out of math and I would have avoided this whole thing, and da 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 da, and oh, I'm so quirky and my sales attempts were disastrous and I ended up in jail, and da 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 da. I don't know, y'all. Seriously, she just tried to make her like ultra hyper relatable and awkward, and she was like self-conscious in a way that was weird. Nikki would be like, I can't even think of how to describe it, because it just like seemed random. The way she was described, she seemed like conventionally pretty, but then, and she wasn't like ashamed of her body in a way that was like a low self-esteem, actually having body image problems. It was portrayed in more of a way, like in the way like now it's kind of quirky and popular to have trouble with your self-esteem. Like that seemed like more the style it was written in. Like she was being written as having some body image problems because it's quirky to have body image problems, as opposed to actually having body image problems. It was just weird. I don't know. It was just like the whole vibe of the character was just weird, and I did not relate to her, and I thought she was annoying. She whines a lot about everything, and she keeps talking about how she doesn't know what she's doing, and she's like, oh my gosh, everything is falling apart, and then she figures things out. I say that in asterisks because I'll get to what I think about Nikki's observational skills. Cool. Hint, I don't think they're good. Like I said, right from the start, Nikki finds out that his real name is not Jim. She finds out that he's using a false name with his boss, Zarkoshin. And like from the start, I'm like, he's gonna be a secret agent. So this book is told in third person, but it's a tight narration, so we only know what Nikki knows. We only have the information that Nikki has. So theoretically, Nikki should be able to figure out stuff as quickly as we are. Now, granted, I am aware that when characters are in stressful situations, you know, they may not figure things out as quick. When they're emotionally invested, they may not figure things out as quick. However, this girl is a secret agent who theoretically graduated top of her class. One of the main hallmarks, one of the main jobs as a secret agent is to be observant, is to recognize patterns, to gather information and relay that information in a way that makes sense back to whatever your agency is. So theoretically, Nikki should be able to figure things out extraordinarily quickly, or at least be able to gather all the information in bits and pieces and then figure it out. But she doesn't. It takes her an infuriatingly long amount of time to figure out what the heck is going on in this story, and it drives me up a wall, because I would figure things out like half a book or chapters before her and then just be like, get there faster! And it was really infuriating, because I was like, why is she not getting this? I don't understand how she's not getting there. It like, to me, it wasn't making any sense. And I was just like, why is this happening? Why can't she get there? And so I was confused. If this girl is theoretically the top of her class, that does not give me a lot of hope for the rest of the class, because literally she did not even have an inkling that Zev was any type of secret agent until Luan literally called him government man. Not even an inkling. She thought he was legitimately a lawyer who just used his middle name, Jim, because it sounded less ethnic than Zev. Despite the fact that he's been doing like suspicious things this entire book, and he just happened to show up in Thailand where she is also on a mission. And I'm like, girl! So obviously, like I said, Luan is a human rights activist. She runs a clinic in Bangkok that helps women, and, you know, she tries to fight human trafficking, and then, you know, she goes missing, and then, like I said, Zev and Zarkoshan show up, and Zarkoshan is in shipping. Nikki knows this. And so I'm like, well, we don't know a lot about him, but based on the information I've been given, I'm going, and the fact that he seems even, like, roughly connected to this whole situation, I'm going to say that he's a human trafficker, because he runs a shipping organization and he's unrealistically rich. So, yeah, that was one of the big reveals at the very end of the book, but Nikki, again, did not even speculate until she literally got to this giant warehouse and saw women chained to bunk beds that were going to be, like, shipped out. She literally had to see the evidence in order to even come up with this idea that maybe Zarkoshan wasn't actually in charge of shipping. Or, like, she knew, like, vaguely that he was into something not good, but she didn't even, like, remotely connect it. And I'm just like, how did you not get there? Like, to me, it just seems so obvious. And I know it's supposed to be, like, a cozy spy novel, so I'm not expecting Shakespeare, you know? I'm not expecting this to be, like, the highest quality of book, but I at least want your plot to make sense, and I don't want it to be infuriating reading this book and seeing your character who is supposed to be smart be an idiot. And, like, she just cannot figure stuff out for the life of her, and it drove me nuts. I was struggling, guys. Just a lot. That was the biggest thing. She just couldn't figure things out, and that was like a pattern throughout the whole book. Literally every plot twist, I figured it out ages before. One of the big plot twists is that Val's partner ends up being linked with Zarkoshan. It's like her boyfriend, and, you know, she's a bad guy. I called it, and I was really annoyed that they went with that, because I was hoping she would just be the agent who's the toughest nails agent. Like, that's okay. You don't have to make it super cliche. But she was the betrayer and whatever, and I was kind of done. So there was that. Yeah, so my actual note says Nikki just can't figure things out. Like, zero common sense. And it's an annoying way that slows the pace of the story. Like, this gal's supposed to be at the top of the class, and you're telling me it takes her a solid hour to figure out it was Lewin's daughter that was kidnapped. And heckin' Zev, the trafficking, all of it, get there faster. And then my next note was, I think this may be actually more of a pacing issue than a character issue, though these aren't mutually exclusive. The author lets you figure it out completely, and then Nikki is, like, ages behind. What is frustrating is that she often usually does have access to all the info that we as the audience do, so theoretically she should be able to figure it all out. It's different than if we had a distant narrator. We don't. We only know what she knows. So yeah, like I said, and even the pacing at the beginning of the book, like, it was kind of jumpy. Like, it went from the prologue and then, like, sped through her training but in a weird way and gave it, like, a weird amount of weight, and then, like, paid almost no attention to it, and then sped through the book and then slowed down. Just the pacing was really weird and bad. And I feel bad saying that, because, like I said, I like to like things. I wanted this to be good. I wanted it to be fun and cozy to read, and it just wasn't, guys. It wasn't. And a lot of the characters were just annoying and not realistic and or flat. I don't know, guys. It was a struggle. It was painful to listen to. Like, there was just, like, a weird amount of coincidence, and then of course it all came into play, but, like, in a weird way, you know, like, maybe, I feel like maybe at some points I'm being too harsh on it, and then I'm like, no, I'm not. It was stupid. So that was the literary part of the book that I didn't like. I have significant issues with MLMs, like, as a thing. So, like I said, I didn't have a particular issue with, you know, a front organization. Like, that's a normal thing in secret agent-ish novels. So I wouldn't have necessarily minded if it was an MLM front and then all of the consultants were actually secret agents that are well paid, and they're actually information gatherers, they're intelligence operatives, they're doing their best, and so it's not actually harmful, but it's under the guise of an MLM so people don't take it seriously. Like, that would have actually been cool. But no, the Foundation is the one that does all the secret agency stuff, and then Carrie Mae, the MLM, just runs as an MLM does. But then it's not even limited there. It actually, like, supports MLMs. Like, at random points throughout the book, people will just like talk about, oh well, don't diss our beauty consultants, they do good work providing for their families from home. And I'm like, but guys, it's an MLM, it's predatory, it's harmful, it's hurtful to actual like women who are struggling. That's like your whole thing is you're supposed to support and empower women, and then like these women who are just trying to support their family are probably getting screwed over because they're being forced to buy all this inventory that they're supposed to sell and go into a ton of debt. It's terrible. You shouldn't support this. I was just like every time the name Carrie Mae came up, I was just like that made me even more mad, because I'm like, you're obviously basing this off of Mary Kay. I could have figured that out without you literally naming it Carrie Mae. I'm not an idiot. Thank you for thinking I'm one. It took me out of the story every single time it was mentioned, which, because it's the organization that Nikki works for, is a lot. So I'm just like over here like struggling to get through this book because I hate the MLM concept. I'm just like, I'm dropping stuff now, you know. Like I said, it was just a lot of the execution, and I was like, it was so positive about MLMs that I was like, I will eat my hat. I'm not wearing a hat, but I will eat one of my hats if this author has not been or is not currently part of an MLM. Specifically Mary Kay. Side note, as far as MLMs go, Mary Kay is not the worst. There are far more predatory ones than Mary Kay. But it's still an MLM, still not great, still annoyed at this book for promoting it. So that was problematic issue number 1, and that was the one that was like biggest throughout the book. So next is Nikki's mother, Nell. So as I said, she's presented as nagging and ridiculous throughout the story. That doesn't really change. Nikki, you know, cares for her mother in her own way, but like just wants her to shut up and stop nagging her about her life. So Nell is racist, to put it bluntly. You know, the book takes place, the majority of the book takes place in Thailand, so it's more of that vague, passive-aggressive racism where Nell doesn't use slurs or anything, but she's just like, you know, kind of those immigrants out, like, oh my goodness, Asia's such a dangerous country, it's not the United States, oh my gosh. You know, that kind of racism and bigotry. And at first I was like, well, she's portrayed as such a ridiculous and negative person that I'm not sure if that's actually something that would stop you from reading, because she's not portrayed as a positive person, she's portrayed as a very negative person. So I'm like, still not great though. Like, that wasn't a necessary detail really. Like, you can have a nagging mother character without just having to make her bigoted. At the same time, because it's not portrayed as positive, I'm like, okay, I can see where you could still being able to justify reading this, even though it's painful to listen to this. But that's kind of the point, because Nikki also finds it painful to listen to her. But then Nikki also doesn't like rebuke that part of her. She just finds her mother annoying. And so that's more where I have the problem. That's more where I have the problem in general with all of the stuff that's problematic in this book, is that the characters that are supposed to be good and positive do nothing to address the things that are negative. So with the mother's racism, because we can kind of see inside Nikki's head, we should be able to be like, well, I hate that my mother says all this stuff. Like, I hate that she's racist, da 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 da. No, there's nothing like that. It's just kind of generally, my mother is annoying and I wish she would shut up. The one that bothered me even more, because it had more to do with like your positive characters, was the use of the R word. So if you don't know what that is, the R word is basically a slur against the developmentally disabled. So this slur was used twice in the book. Once by the character Jenny, who is Nikki's secret agency friend, and once by Nikki herself. Both were used with zero repercussions. They were never portrayed as negative, really. They were used with the same gravity that you would use the word stupid. And that bothered me more because this is a positive character. This is supposed to be a character that you think is relatable, that you think is good, that you are supposed to be rooting for, and here they are using this slur that's really hurtful. And the fact that it was used with absolutely zero repercussions, not even a like, Nikki says it in a moment of extreme stress. So if there were to be a moment where it would be used, and she's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, I was really stressed, I didn't mean that, da 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 da, whatever. Like, I didn't mean to use it. I still think it'd be better without it because there's no purpose behind it. You can just say the situation is stupid. That's far less problematic. But like, at least that would have been Nikki like acknowledging her words, because you know sometimes people do slip up, which it shouldn't be slipping up with actual slurs. You should just not do that. But like, at at the very least, at the bare minimum, that should have been what was done, and it wasn't even that. And that bothered me, and I almost stopped reading it there, just because I was so annoyed, but I was too far in at that point, and I was reading it for the review, so I was just like, well, gotta finish. One more reason not to read this book. And so those were the three main problematic things in this book that just irked me and just made me say, you know, this is not a book that should be read. But also, the book is just poorly written, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm not expecting a literary masterpiece. My standards for a cozy spy novel are different than my standards for classic literature. And, you know, I'm not expecting anything amazing. I'm just expecting something fun and cozy and a fun adventure. But I think the fact that the book was trying to promote so many different points and just to take itself seriously, it made it even harder for me to take seriously or to appreciate in any sense of the word. There were moments with Jane that I was like, oh, that's actually kind of enjoyable, but then everything that was bad about the book would just take me out of it even more. And I'd be like, well, there went that. Let's see, I'm trying to look at my other notes. Oh, there was one more problematic thing. So this was like a blip. So it was barely mentioned. But at one point, Nikki's like in a club and she sees this trans woman who like talks to her briefly for like 2 seconds, and like she spends like a weird amount of like detail on this trans woman and calls her a man woman, and like, well, that's like not technically a slur, it was weird. Like the vibe made me uncomfortable, and I was like, okay, this is making me uncomfortable, and I'm CIS, like and so I looked up when the book was written because I was like, well, maybe that'll have something to do with it. People are like we're more uncomfortable with people who are like not fully transitioned. I mean, there's still people who are like that, but like more so like the further back you get. So this book was actually written in 2010, and I was just like, okay, well, I guess things are a little different now, but still not an excuse. It was just weird. Like, and there was no purpose to it. Like, it wasn't important to the plot at all. It was just this random person that like made a comment before she was getting into the club. So there's that. One other thing, which I wasn't sure whether to include this in writing or problematic. No, this goes in writing. So there was one other thing as far as the writing went that just bothered me. You know, I'm a person that likes to do my research, so I understand there's some people who just like to write stories and they don't care quite as much about research, and that's okay. Like, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but when you state something, I'm generally, as a reader, going to assume that you kind of vaguely did your research. One of Val's main reasons for being a trader was money, which, I mean, that's a normal reason for people to be traders in any genre of fiction. With Val, she mentions, you know, like, Carrie Mae, like, pays so little, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So then, one of the things, at the end of the book, you know, Val ends up, like, falling off a bridge or whatever. So, at the very end, Nikki's, like, trying to negotiate herself a pay raise, and yay, she succeeds. Val mentions, you know, they get paid, like, $30,000-ish a year, which I was like, that seems like kind of a paltry amount, but okay. And then, like, Nikki negotiates her way up to, I think she said 70,000, which is a lot better. And then I remembered the fact that they live in LA, which has notoriously one of the highest costs of living in the entire US. So I decided, I was like, well, maybe things were a little bit different in 2010. Like, I know that was still, you know, kind of in the economic downturn after the market meltdown in 2008, but maybe things were a little different. Like, maybe 30,000 isn't quite as bad as it sounds. So I did some research because that's what I do. So out of pure curiosity, I looked up what's considered a livable income in LA in as close to 2010 as I could look up. So, the median family income in 2009 for Los Angeles County was determined to be $62,100. And then it goes on to say that, like, annual family income, and then it basically categorizes low income level, very low income level, and extreme low income level. So, and this is specifically for LA in 2009, so this is about as specific information as I could get. A low income level was considered to be $44,400 for a household size of 1. A very low income level for a household size of 1 is roughly $27,750, and that is according to, dang, I didn't save the site, or it got cut off. It was a reputable source, I swear. I will look it up and I will link it down below. If the secret agents who are in an extremely dangerous profession. They don't even apparently get full health insurance. They get paid $30,000 a year to live in Los Angeles, where that would be considered somewhere between low and very low income, probably depending on what neighborhood you live in. Like, that is terrible. If we're talking about, like, trying to empower and protect women, you're not really doing a good job with your agents if you're not even protecting them and giving them a livable wage to live in their place you're requiring them to live in. And I'm like, no wonder Val quit, wanted to stupid betray, or she's given her life to this organization, basically, and they've just, like, and they pay Val, who's a senior agent in the 30,000s. I don't know, it was just weird. It was really weird, and I'm like, this could just be an example of, you know, the author not doing her research, but to me, that suddenly made Val's point make a lot more sense to me. I was just like, this poor girl has given her life to this company, and they've just, like, consistently screwed her over, and they put her in dangerous situations and give her absolutely zero reward for it. So the fact that Nikki, like, negotiated her way up pay raise wise, it's supposed to be like this little triumphant moment, like, ooh, I got ahead kind of thing. And I'm like, you just got yourself the darn minimum. I mean, okay, technically she got herself the median income in LA County, which I guess is pretty good. But, like, as far as the livable wage is concerned, you're probably barely making it. Like, I just, oh my gosh, it just wasn't well written. It didn't seem well thought out. It wasn't enjoyable. It was problematic. And I was just annoyed. I was annoyed with myself for picking it. And I was annoyed with the book for turning out like it did. As far as other plot stuff, it was okay, I guess. Like, it just could have been executed a lot better. Like, Nikki saves the day by destroying a piano, which destroying a piano is a travesty and a sin. Don't destroy musical instruments to win your stupid battles. Oh yeah, there was the betrayal of Dr. Hastings at the end, which she's the one who's, like, in charge. Mrs. Marvel is in charge of the West Coast branch, and then, like, Dr. Hastings is above her, and this was, like, a super minor subplot. Just the way it was phrased, like, again, I saw it coming, and I was like, this is gonna be really annoying. This is gonna really annoy me, because they already had a Val betray, and then they're gonna, like, I was like, is stupid Dr. Hastings gonna be working for Zarkoshan? And then, like, she was just apparently just trying to cover it all up, and so she got, like, fired or whatever at the end, and I was like, yay, that's a good thing. So I guess I'll talk about Zev. So he was actually one of the better of the main characters. You know, kind of a typical, like, agent, he's not supposed to tell kind of thing. It wasn't anything, like, crazy new, but at the same time, like, it was not the worst executed of the things in this book, so I was okay with it. I was like, well, obviously they're gonna somehow end up together, even though, like, one thing that did, again, kind of bothered me. Nikki finds out he's CIA, but he never figures out that she's Carrie May. Nikki eventually figures it out on her own, but then, like, Jane also figures it out because she did, like, a background check or whatever. But, like, Zev never figures it out. He thinks she actually legitimately works for Carrie May Foundation. And, like, Nikki's like, I got my secret safe. I'm like, he works for the darn CIA. He has just as many, if not more, resources than Carrie May has. I'm sure they know about Carrie May. It's not like it's that secret. I mean, it's secret, but, like, he should be able to figure it out. I guess theoretically there's a possibility that it was playing her and he totally knew, but, like, I feel like it's taking him for an idiot, and, like, the one thing that I thought would happen would be that Zev would figure out that she was Carrie May, because he even mentioned, like, do all Carrie May people carry tasers? And she was like, yeah, of course I do, and, like, whatever. That was stupid. Like, he should have, ooh, that is not as white as I thought it was. Crap. Buff it away, buff the mistakes away. There was nothing crazy unique about their budding relationship. Let me be frank. Yeah, I don't have a lot else to say, so again, I'm going to try and finish up my makeup. So I'm doing my eyeshadow purple because the Carrie May is, like, it's purple, and then, like, it has a butterfly symbol, so I'm going to attempt to paint, like, just a cute little butterfly on my cheek. We'll see how it works. Where did I put my liner? Let's do my lipstick first, since apparently I can't find anything. So I'm gonna do, like, a couple different lip combos. I'm having trouble making this look cohesive. I don't know why. This is going to be the third lip combo I'm trying. I don't know, maybe I should just go with a nude lip and call it good. I want it to be purple. One more time. Just, like, catapulted my brush. It's fun. But yeah, basically, if you're curious after this entire time if I recommend the book, I do not. I think that even for cozy spy novels that are supposed to be fun, there are much better ones out there than this. Why does nothing look cohesive? I'm going to fix this. Maybe I'll add, like, if I add like a little bit more warmth. I like how at the beginning I said, I'm trying to make this a really like fun makeup look. And then I'm kind of hating everything I'm doing with it. Oh, I wanted to do a butterfly. Dang. So I found my black eyeliner. So we're going to attempt to draw a little Carrie May butterfly on my cheek. Not sure quite why I did this so close to like eye wrinkle zone. I mean, I guess it looks kind of cute. Okay, so I failed at the butterfly. I wiped it off. We're trying again. Okay, so as you can tell, I finished the butterfly. I think it looks okay. I erased and redid the butterfly like 3 times. The camera battery died, so I was waiting for it to charge, and I'm like, I swear I will get the butterfly right. I got it. I think it looks kind of cute. I wanted this to be like a totally matte look, but I kind of want to add it like an inner corner highlight. Add an inner corner highlight. Because I can't stupid help myself. So we're gonna use, should I go all out and use amethyst? Let's be smart and build it. So I will start with diamond. You're like, what happened to the book review? Well, I said all I wanted to say. I said I don't recommend it, so you know, I'm gonna kind of leave it there. And this is gonna like delve into like kind of a little bit of a normal makeup. Get ready with me, whatever. While I try and make this look pretty. Can't dress up a bad book, but you can fix a makeup look. That was bad. I'm kind of scared to go into amethyst. It's definitely not pastel. Should I do Alexandrite? What the heck, we're going with amethyst. Oh gosh, that's so pigmented. I think I kind of like that better. Oh, I'm gonna put the diamond on the butterfly. I like it better now. Okay, I swear I'm done. Real quick, I'm going to wrap up. Oh my gosh. So pretty much all I have left to say is you have heard my recommendations on this book, which is don't bother. If you already have read it, I would be curious to know what your thoughts are. Whether you liked it, hated it more than I did, thought that it wasn't as badly written as I thought it was, whatever, what have you. I'm curious. I want to know your recommendations for a good cozy spy novel. Because again, that is one of my like favorite like kind of subgenres, and I want to read it more. So, and obviously this was a little bit of a disappointment. That's pretty much all I got. So that is my makeup look inspired by Bulletproof Mascara by Bethany Maines. We have our little Carrie May butterfly. We have our purple to go with Carrie May. It's just kind of a nude-ish, pastel-ish look. Like I said, I wanted to at least try and make the makeup look nice, and I'm feeling bad, so I want to at least look like I'm not feeling terrible. But thank you so much for watching and joining me today. If you have suggestions for future reviews or books you'd like me to read and look at, or any other comments, please let me know down below. I would love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, or you want to maybe see some more reviews of books that I don't like, or you're like, or heck no, I only want to see reviews of books that you do like, let me know in the comments. Or if you really enjoyed this, please like and consider subscribing. That'd be awesome. That's pretty much all I've got, so thank you so much. I love you all very, very much, and I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day. Bye!